What up? What up? All right, what's going on, guys? How's everyone doing? Say something, let me know you can hear me okay. Make sure the audio is all good. Let me know in the comments really quick. Just want to make sure everything is all good. Awesome, awesome. What's up, Justin? How you doing, brother? What is going on? All right, guys. So what I wanted to jump on here and talk about with you today, a couple things, right? So we have really transitioned our business into much more of a virtual model. So we're about 90% virtual at this point. We are still going to some appointments, okay? Not that many. We'll go to some locally, but for the most part, we've made a transition to virtual, and we still have two offices, okay, and excuse me, based in Jacksonville. One we lease, one we own with another partner. So what we did is we're going to finish out this lease in this other office because we had, we built out this big team. So we're finishing out that lease and we're going to let that one go. We're going to keep the one that we actually own. And if we need to, meet people or whatever, and one that's our like home base market, then we can have somewhere to meet people and everything else. So we've really made that transition, and it's been going extremely well. Everyone is working from home. All right, so all of our team now is virtual, and I think we're at like 8 people total on our team right now. And the results are just insane, guys. All right, like we are absolutely killing it, and it's due to a few different things, right? And what we've done is over the last 10 years of me doing this business, I've taken everything that I've learned, like for those of you that don't know, I have personally been to over 2,000 seller appointments. We went through and looked at all the numbers last year, from when I was going to appointments all the time, every single day. It looked like I was just over 2,000 seller appointments that I physically went to a house, met with a homeowner, presented an offer, did a presentation, built rapport, all that stuff. And now, our sales team has actually even went to more appointments than that. And we're over $2 million in marketing that we spent in this business. And we've seen obviously a great return on that. So how do you take, this machine that is doing extremely well, just normal wholesaling, like just straight up generate leads, set appointments, go meet with homeowners, go lock up the deal, build the rapport, all that stuff, solve the problem. And then you take all that and then implement it into a virtual model where, now all of a sudden it's completely different in a sense, but it's also the same. Okay. So this is what I really learned over the last several months of making this transition over is the fundamentals basically are the same, whether you are virtual or you are local, okay, doing this traditional way that most people do it, right? So a couple like big takeaways, right, that I've learned from this is that you can build rapport with people, all right, and solve their problem, get offers accepted without being face to face with them. All right, you do not need that. And that was actually a limiting belief that I had for several years, all right, before we started actually doing deals virtually, which was the first time we'd started doing virtual deals was a couple years ago. And it was nothing like it is now, right? So we would just do some periodically here and there. We didn't build an actual machine and system behind it like we have, okay, now, where it's like 2 weeks ago when last time I jumped on here, we'd signed, I believe it was 8 contracts that week with an estimated value of those contracts of, close to $120,000 all in 1 week, okay? So that's with 2 salespeople that did that. All right. And one of them is the primary guy that actually locked the majority of those up. And he is an absolute beast, right? And what's funny is he is the first sales guy that we ever hired, right? So he would go, I personally trained him. He would go to appointments with me. And funny story, I'll never forget this. I'll share this with you guys really quick. It's a little off topic, but I'll just share it with you because it's pretty funny. So the first appointment I took this guy to, and we're good friends now. He's a great guy, absolute just beast. He's only 23 years old. He's a young guy, and he makes well over 6 figures a year. Absolutely killing it, and he has for the last few years. So I take him to this appointment, and we were in Jacksonville in the Arlington neighborhood, and we're in the backyard walking this house. The homeowners are inside. It was 2 elderly ladies. And we're in the backyard, and then all of a sudden, like this just horrible smell, just hits both of us, and we're looking at each other like, man, did you let one go, or what happened? We're trying to figure it out, and we look down, and this guy has the biggest just gob of just dog shit, on his foot. I mean, he was absolutely disgusting. So all the faucets in the backyard do not work. Okay. Not one of them works. For whatever reason, I believe the house had some plumbing issues, and they had to, shift all the faucets in the back. And then also in the front, and they were all off. So there was only water inside the house, none outside. I know it's super weird, but that was the deal. So he had to take off his shoes, and I had to walk him through this house, right, to get to the front yard, because the backyard was barricaded off where you couldn't just walk outside and get to the front yard. You had to walk through the house. So we walked through the house, and I'm explaining to these ladies, like, what's happening now. They're laughing their ass off. We're laughing, and then we leave and we get that contract. It's just a, quick little funny story. When I reminisce, on all these appointments, I mean, I really could write a book of all the crazy stuff that I've seen. And it's a great experience, by the way. I know we're talking about virtual today, but it is something that you are passionate about and you want to do a little bit locally wherever you are as well. I recommend doing virtual, honestly, but if that's something that you're passionate about and you're into it, it's very cool to go out there and do that, okay? But that's not the lifestyle business that you're probably looking for. And you know me, I'm all about the lifestyle, building the business around the life that you are trying to achieve, right? So if you want to be in, Bali for 2 weeks straight, closing deals over here in the US, this business gives you the power to do that. All right. And, there's not many businesses out there that offer that kind of freedom and that type of lifestyle that generate this kind of money. All right. And you can generate a serious amount of money extremely fast doing this if you do it the right way. Okay. So let's talk about the first point. Because as I went through and, we're building out this system, I'm like, what are just the 5 high level, key takeaways from building this machine out? What did I learn? Over 10 years of actually doing the business overall, and I transitioned to virtual. Certain principles are just going to apply straight across the board regardless. And one of those principles is consistency. Okay. So, and we're going to get into a lot more technical stuff as well. All right. But first, this is key, guys. And I'm going to tell you, this is one of the biggest downfalls and mistakes that I see newer wholesalers make. And I don't care if you're virtual or if you're local, you're going to appointments, whatever that is for you. This is the biggest mistake, because what happens is you get hyped up on it, right? Like you get a training, you get this, you get that. And then, you're super pumped. You're like, man, this is going to be great. You start getting into it. And then maybe you don't even finish the training, right? And then you just kind of mess around with it a little bit. You haven't really made the commitment that this is going to work for you. Okay. So that runs parallel with consistency. If you haven't made that commitment, then why would you stay consistent in the business? And when I say consistent, I mean, you're consistently generating leads. You're consistently making offers. You're consistently talking to sellers, buyers, realtors, all that stuff. Okay. So, and there's a big difference between staying busy and being productive. So you're focusing on your revenue generating activities, especially early on. Do not get the shiny object syndrome that I got to go out there. I got to build this crazy, awesome website. I got to get my web presence down. I got to get all this stuff. In the beginning, None of that matters to you yet. And I'm going to tell you why, because guess what? If you don't actually make that commitment and stay consistent and actually make money, then what does all that stuff do for you? Okay. So that's why I stress that, especially starting out, for anybody, that the most important thing that you should be focused on is talking to sellers, making offers, and getting contracts signed. Okay. Talking to buyers, talking to realtors, because we work with a lot of realtors virtually to sell our deals. And without that commitment and that consistency, you will not get anywhere in this business. And that is just the cold, hard truth. And not even just this business, but anywhere. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is make that commitment. And I don't care where you are in the business right now. This applies to everybody, and even me, guys, because I will find myself from time to time, slipping just a little bit. And I have to catch myself and be like, nope. And a good little thing for you to practice is this. Whenever, especially for those of you that do this part-time at your side hustle, you still have a full-time job, you're trying to get things going. One of the biggest little practice things that you could do is, as soon as you don't feel like doing something, just do it immediately. Don't give your mind a second to talk you out of it, because that's exactly what your mind will do if you allow it. It will talk you straight out of anything that you've told yourself you don't want to do. And I know a lot of you that are working full-time jobs, you come home, you're tired, maybe you have a family, you have kids, you have, soccer practice, whatever that is for you. And, you're like, man, I don't know if I really feel like, sending out these texts today and, sending out these offers or following up with my other leads from yesterday or the day before. You know what? I'll just do it tomorrow. No, that's not the way it works, because what happens is you're going to build a pattern based on that. Okay. So before you know it, then the next day comes around and you're like, I don't know, maybe I'll take care of it tomorrow and I'll just double up, whatever. Well, you start building that pattern out, and before you know it, you're super inconsistent. All right. So that's my point here. You want to get to the money as fast as possible, or if you've already done a deal or two or several deals, whatever that is, here's the thing. Like, what is going to produce consistent revenue for you? What is going to produce consistent checks for you? And that is consistent marketing, consistent making offers, right? Consistently following up with your leads, following up on your offers, and following through on what the ultimate goal is. And that is making money. All right. And if you want to consistently make money in this business, you got to take those consistent actions that lead to that. And what happens is you start building this momentum. And I'm telling you guys, this seems super simple, but this is actually one of the biggest keys to this business. Believe it or not, I know it sounds crazy, but this is one of the biggest keys to it. What happens is, when you market consistently, you're generating leads, you're talking to sellers, it's a snowball effect. You start building momentum over time. Okay. And once you have that momentum, guess what? Then all of a sudden, oh yeah, next week I got a deal closing. All right. So a couple of weeks from that, I already have a deal lined up that's closing. Next month, I have 2 deals that are closing. Right. And then that's how it starts building up. And then you start realizing, okay, man, I'm maxed out in what I can do. So now I need to go out and start, strategically hiring people that can help me build this thing up and keep that momentum going. So don't fall in the trap of go out there, generate a lead, make an offer, get it accepted. And then, all right, so I'm not going to market anymore right now. I'm not going to talk to sellers yet, because now I got to focus all my attention on, going out and finding the buyer. So you drop this other piece, which is critical to build that momentum. Okay. And then you just focus on this, and then maybe you get the deal sold. But guess what? Now you start. So it's this vicious cycle, and almost everyone falls into this. Okay. I have fallen into this, early on as well. I think almost everyone does it. All right. To some degree. And the key is that you never let that happen, because you lose that momentum over here, and then you got to build it back up again. And it's just a constant battle, right? So once you understand this, that you got to keep everything going and stay consistent with it, and you do it, that is when the real magic starts happening. All right. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand that. And I see questions coming up over here, and I'm guys, ask away. I will go through and I will answer any questions that you guys have about anything. And so let's get into key number 2. All right, really quick. So ask as many questions as you want, by the way. And that is another, thing that I struggled with personally, like making this move over into virtual, was the rapport aspect, right? And I talked about this a second ago. And, I had limiting beliefs for several years that, hey, I just trusted myself so much to knowing that when I get in front of somebody, the level of rapport that I can build with them quickly, I just thought there's no way possible that I could do that, or we could do that at the same quality, right? And the same speed of being able to get that rapport really, really fast and get them on your side. I didn't think that, that was possible to do that virtually at the same level that I could in person. And that was a self-limiting belief that I had for multiple years going in the business. And it's absolutely false, right? It's just building processes and systems that, allow you to still get face-to-face with the seller. All right. And still have that communication with them. And what we like to do is we use Zoom calls for our appointments, or we do FaceTime, right? So we're getting that eye contact. We're getting that face-to-face with the seller. Now, granted, like we buy houses from a lot of, older demographic. We're in Florida, most of our markets are in Florida. So, we deal with a lot of older people. And, to be fair, there is sometimes, they cannot do that. They can't do a Zoom or, a FaceTime or whatever, and that's okay. So what you have to do is make sure that you understand and you go into that appointment with as much information that you can possibly get about that deal. So your appointment prep is key. If you cannot get them, and I don't care if you do get them on the Zoom or the FaceTime, or if you don't, you have to be prepped going into these appointments. So for you starting out, for any of you that are starting out and getting started in the actual process, what's going to be important for you is making sure that, you set up your appointment. Okay. So you don't want to go straight into an appointment as soon as that first time you talk to them. And we talk about that in my new virtual training as well. You got to set your own self up an appointment, unfortunately, when you're starting out, because you don't want to go out and hire people yet and all that stuff. And, start building in expenses, on yourself when you're not doing deals consistently. That would not make sense. Okay. So that appointment prep is key. All right. So obviously we use REI Automator. We're going to pull our market data, our one-page market data. It's going to show what's going on in their area. It's going to show the prices going up, going down, average days on market, all that stuff. We're going to pull a nice detailed comps report out of REI Automator as well. Pulling the low and the high comps. We're going to run, the deal through based on the information that we gathered while we were setting up that appointment. We're going to run that through Offer Automator, make sure we have a good, solid, accurate offer to start with. We're going to have our virtual repairs estimate sheet, right? Which any of you guys that want that, I'll share that with you. Just, hit me up after here, and I'll make sure I get that to you guys if you want that. But we're going to line all this stuff up together, our credibility kit, right? So we have a full-blown credibility kit. So we would put all this stuff together whenever we were going to a physical appointment as well. So I said, hey, well, why don't we just transfer all this stuff over into a virtual process, try to get them on Zoom or FaceTime, still have that face-to-face with them, send them all this stuff before we actually start the appointment so they have it and they can start reviewing it and then get into the appointment. There's actually some other stuff as well that we do, but we have this whole package of stuff and this whole presentation, that we're going to present to them. All right. We're going to actually do a presentation for them to a degree right? And hopefully over Zoom. And we're going to build that rapport. We're going to find out what the problems are. All right. We're going to make sure that they have set aside enough time for us to actually do this as well. So we make it very clear in the beginning, whenever we're setting up this appointment, hey, we just need to make sure that you know that it's going to take X amount of time. Okay, so set aside this amount of time to make sure that we can really see the property, we can figure out everything that's going on. And keep in mind this as well. Don't position yourself as, a wholesaler or just a real estate investor or anything like that. You are a solutions company. Okay, that is, and you need to stress that you will be forthcoming and honest with that seller if you are not the best option. Right. So, I mean, if wholesaling that property is not the best option, and keep this in mind as your value proposition as a wholesaler. Okay. So if they come at you and they're like, yeah, you know what, I think I'm just going to list the property. I mean, and let's just say we're talking about a property that needs, a good amount of work, a decent amount of work. So it's a good wholesale deal. Okay. And let's just say it needs $20,000 worth of work, $100,000 property. It's like, okay, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, that is fair. But I just need you to understand that, we're a solutions company. We're here trying to give you advice on what the best route would be for you to take. Okay. So, and if that's not us, that is perfectly fine with me. I have no problem steering you in the right direction, giving you a referral, whatever that is. But in your scenario, because remember the example that we're using, I need you to understand and keep in mind that at the end of the day, you're going to have to list the property. All right. So there's unknowns there of how long it's going to take to sell. We know because we're looking right here at this data sheet. Okay. Because you're going to get them to pull that up while you're on the call with them, that on average, the houses are sitting on the market for 100 days. So let's just say within 100 days, you get the property under contract. Then when you're selling it through the MLS, typically at a minimum, you're looking at least 30 to 60 days to actually get this property to closing. And you're going to be dealing with a cash buyer more than likely anyway, okay? Because the property needs this much work. Yes, a homeowner could go out and get like a 203K loan, like an FHA rehab loan, where they can actually buy the property and also fix it up. But most people are looking for houses that are already done. So those homeowners are not as likely to buy that house as a cash buyer would. Now, to be fair, let's just say you go under contract with a cash buyer. Well, guess what? We're also cash buyers. So what are the odds that their offer is going to be much higher than ours? Okay, because I'm willing to bet you, Mr. Seller, that offer will be very similar to ours. Ours might even be more. Sometimes we even beat what cash buyers will pay on the MLS. So now you're talking about potentially 100 days to actually get it under contract for potentially the same price, another 30 to 60 days for closing. And then in addition to that, if you have a mortgage, you are going to pay those mortgage payments every month along the way. You're going to pay taxes. You're going to pay insurance along the way, right? So as a seller, typically you pay the majority of the closing costs as well with a standard transaction off the MLS through a realtor. You're also going to pay commission, okay? So you're probably looking at 6% commission, 2% closing costs. You're making your mortgage payments. You're paying your taxes every month, your insurance, and then any basic maintenance of the property along the way. So at the end of this road, okay, for maybe you're thinking, hey, I can get an extra $10,000, $15,000 for this property if I list it. Are you really though? So, I mean, what is it worth for speed and convenience and a guarantee that the deal is done today? Because you have a willing and able buyer right here in front of you, with the money that's ready to do this, that's ready to solve whatever other problems that you have. Okay. So we're a solutions company. So it's far beyond just, we want to buy this house. Okay. We're here to serve you. We're here to help you and make this a seamless transaction for you all the way around. So when you factor all that in and you present that to the seller the right way, and just as an example in this objection, it makes sense, okay, for them to do business with you. And that's what you're trying to really get across to the seller is why should they do business with you over the realtor? Because when you come into the picture, you got that skepticism from the very beginning. Okay. It's you against them. So they're already skeptical, right? But when you can actually have them make sense out of why they should do business with you over doing it with someone else or through the MLS or whatever, that's how you win. All right. When they can logically think like, man, it just doesn't make any sense to do it any other way than this. It just, so think about that for a second, because that's a big part of why we are so successful in this business is we actually take the time to educate the seller. And that is going to be a big, big deal as you move forward throughout 2020, going into 2021. None of us have a crystal ball. We know that 40% probably of the jobs that are lost are not coming back. Okay, because now more and more huge corporations have realized, hey, man, this virtual stuff isn't that bad. Man, we don't really need, all these other people that we had in this office before. And, this is happening all across the country right now where they're realizing this. So, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there is definitely going to be, there's a disruption right now in the real estate market. And we are still pushing forward just like we would any other day. We're still actually fixing flipping houses as well, right? And they're still closing. The wholesales are still closing. But, you got to educate the seller on what's going on because all this is still new to them. Not all of them were actually going through the last crash or were affected by the last crash. So one of the biggest keys is being able to educate the seller properly, right? And help them make sense out of why they should work with you today, okay? Because there's unknowns in the foreseeable future, right, where we don't know what the real estate market is going to do. So another cool thing that we've been doing is share an article with them. Pull an article, all right, a real estate article about the market locally in whatever markets that you're in, okay? And then put that in your package. So if you have my virtual training or whatever, I'll give you my credibility kit. I'll give you all that stuff. And I even talk about it in there as well. Pull a good article. And even if you don't have all that stuff yet, then still do this. And as you're doing that virtual appointment, that's part of what you send them over. And you got to educate them on what's going to happen that, hey, if you wait and you don't do this now, 4 months from now, 5 months from now, we could be looking at a completely different market, right? And the odds are it's not going to be this way. Okay, it's probably not going to be this way. It's probably going to be this way. All right, let's just be real about it. That's most likely where it's going. I doubt it goes this way. All right, now it could just kind of idle where it is, and I think it will for a while because we're not really seeing growth. We're not seeing a decline in our markets. It's pretty consistent from where it was before any of this COVID stuff happened. All right, but educate them, and that is an absolute game changer, okay? Another thing I want to get into, another key point, is your ability to solve problems, all right? To be empathetic, to be an actual solutions-based company, okay? Solutions-based wholesaler. Let's just even say that. For those of you that starting out that don't really have a company yet, don't have all this stuff, you got to become great at solving problems, all right? So any of you that are on here now, that have been doing this and like making offers, talking to sellers, hit me really quick with, a problem that you've heard from a seller recently. Okay. And what's a problem typically look like? Okay. I can't sell my house because of this, or I got to wait because of this, or, I can't do it right this second. I'm waiting on this, stuff like that. Okay. So those are problems that you need to be able to solve or objections that need to be overcame. All right. So for any of you that are in the training, I have my objections script in there, and I'm going to actually keep updating that with more and more objections. And, I just gave you all the most common ones that we always hear, especially virtual. And a lot of times that's going to be, you haven't seen the house yet. How are you going to buy it? And, all this stuff that sellers are trying to, logically understand how this is real and how this would work. So you need to make it logical for them and be a problem solver. If they say, hey, I need this before I can actually sell the house, then you need to be able to create a solution on the fly if you don't know what that is yet when you're running the appointment, and then you understand what that problem is. You got to be able to solve it. So if any of you want to throw any in here, I'm more than happy to talk about them. What those problems could be. A typical one that you hear is, how I can't sell until I find another house. Okay, so that's fine. We'll help you find another house. We work with realtors in these markets. We can help you find another house, but this is what we need to do right now. Just so we can pull this money over to the side, make sure everything is good to go, and we have an agreement before we start putting a lot of time and energy into it. All right, we need to go ahead and do the contract, do the agreement, and then we will put the contingency in there that says, hey, that we will help you find another property and everything like that. So contingencies and clauses in the contract is your best friend, all right, for solving problems. Because when you put it in there for them, it isn't just you saying it anymore. It becomes real, okay? Let me turn this up. Yeah, I don't know why it just went dark like that, guys. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tripping. Let me move this over a little bit. I don't know, guys. Bear with me 1 second. I don't know what's going on here. Just like went dark. I got my brightness all the way up. I don't know. All right. So anyway, that is the key, right? So once you can help them see that on paper, all right, that this is happening, that you are going to do this, it becomes real to them. All right. That's what's important. It needs to feel real to them, not just, all right, Mr. Seller, I will make sure that, I help you find a place. Everything is going to be good. You don't have to worry about anything. Well, that is, if they haven't fully bought into you and they don't trust you 100% yet, they're not buying that yet. All right. But when it's in the agreement and they can see it, you've signed it, they've signed it. Now it's real. Okay. So that is one of the biggest keys to solving problems, is making sure that they understand that it is real. And guys, I don't know what is going on here, why this thing is tripping on us. And super dark, but that's all you gotta do is just rub it off. I don't know what. So anyway, solving problems. Another big one, guys, is making the right offer. Okay, this is critical, because what happens in virtual wholesaling is you have what's called your fallout rate. All right, some people call it your closing rate. Your contract fallout rate, depending on who you're talking to. Everyone has their own way to explain what this is. But for me to explain to you in the simplest terms possible, it's this. All right. So that is the ratio of how many contracts that you get signed, the agreements that you make with sellers that actually go to closing, what that percentage is. And I'm going to tell you, all right, on average, I'm a part of two high level real estate investor masterminds. All right, two very high level and big investment masterminds. One is $25,000 a year. The other one's $20,000 a year. Then plus travel and everything. I mean, we're spending a ton of money. 1 year, like 2 years ago, I invested over $100,000 in like masterminds and travel and, for myself and my team and, to become better. Right. But what I see across the board in the virtual wholesaling space, with talking to the most successful wholesalers from all over the country, is a lot of them that are doing high volume virtual might only close at the top, like 70 to 80% of their contracts, because they're just more focused on volume, get the contract signed. Well, I don't necessarily like that approach. All right. I really don't. I think it is key to making accurate offers, to understanding what your cash buyer is going to be able to pay. Okay. And I don't believe in doing that, because what happens is, if you want to do this long term, which you should, is you're going to start building a reputation in your market one way or the other. All right. Once you start doing this and you start doing this serious, all right, on a serious level, and you're doing deals consistently, you've been doing it for a year or two, you develop at some form of a brand, a reputation in that marketplace, whether you've ever been there or not. Remember, because you're virtual. All right. So what happens if you're canceling the majority of your contracts? What do you think is going to happen? Well, people tell people things, right? It causes problems. The word spreads around, especially if you're not in a big market, then it's easy for people to start, that word gets around, and then before you know it, your company has a bad reputation in that market, and you do not want that, right? You start getting nasty reviews, stuff like that. So I personally don't believe in that model, but a lot of people do. I'm not one of them. What I believe is make accurate offers. Okay, make accurate offers. How do we do that? We use our Automator. We use the Offer Automator feature, and we're building in right now as we speak. We're building in the option to go ahead and deduct out the repairs and all that stuff. We are consistently making improvements and analyzing this thing because I use it in my business. Sean Terry uses it in his business, and many, many other very successful wholesalers use it all across the country in their business as well. And so we're always looking at this, looking to make it better. How can we improve it? How can we make it more accurate? But that is key for us. So what we do right now, until we get that in there, the repairs, and I use my estimating repairs virtual sheet. All right, I'm going to run the deal through REI Automator. I'm going to look at the pictures. I'm going to look at the video that the seller sends me. I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, all right, based on this, this, and this, using that sheet, it looks like it's about this much money in repairs. And then I'm going to deduct that out of my offer. So I am making the most accurate offer that I possibly can to them. I do. So Justin, I see that you say quality over quantity. Yeah. When it comes to virtual, man, and I'm not saying don't go out there and, take some shots. Okay. When you're unsure, like you got to take those shots, take those risks sometimes when you're kind of 50-50, you're like, and then you could also send it over to me or someone else. Like if you've got my training, you're in the Facebook group, then we can look at it and help you with it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to be the wholesaler that signs, 200, 300 contracts a year and closes 150 or 100. Now, is that good to close 100, 150 deals? Of course it is, right? Of course it's good. But the long-term reputation that you develop by doing that, when I know some that are 50%, they might sign 200 contracts a year and then they cancel 100 of them. All right. Like, don't be that person. That's my advice to you. All right. I do not recommend that. I recommend that if you're doing the right things, you're making the right offers, and you're using that inspection period, then you can go back. If you're at the inspection period and you've gotten your feedback from the buyers, from the realtors, then you go back and say, hey, Mr. Seller, based on this, this, and this, unfortunately, after we've seen the house, it looks like we actually need to be here. And this is why. Right. And it's not us saying this. This is the market telling us what we can pay. Because remember, you never make the offer. All right. You are never the one that makes the offer. The market always makes the offer. All right. So you and the seller are on the same side. That is the stigma that a lot of people make the mistake that they just leave that there. And they present the offer in a way that's, hey, we can pay this, even though they're saying based on something, based on the market, based on the comps, whatever that is. They're always usually positioned as, we can pay you this. All right. Well, that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is based on this, this, and this. The market is saying that we could do this. All right. It's always the market that is giving the offer. It's never you that is making the offer. And just that nugget right there alone, okay, can get you so many more deals signed than you thought was even possible if you execute on that the right way. And you position yourself as you and the seller are on the same side, all right, and you are working against the market. That is the key. All right. I would love to pay you $1 million, Mr. Seller, but unfortunately the market says based on the repairs, based on everything that it needs. Right now, it's only worth $400,000. So that is what we can pay because that's what the market is telling us. All right. So that is a big, big takeaway, guys, that I need you to really, really let that sink in and, use that, implement this stuff, guys. Don't just consume this information. I want you to use this and I want you to go out and get results. And I want to hear about the results. Like I want to hear about the successes, the wins, the struggles, all of it. I'm here to help you guys succeed. That is my job. Okay. And another key takeaway is this: relationships. The importance of relationships in all walks of life is critical, obviously, but in virtual wholesaling, it's even more important than standard wholesaling because remember, you're trying to go out, build relationships with certain realtors, with buyers that can go out and represent you there, that can show the buyers the property, stuff like that. So you have to cultivate good relationships with these people. And one of the biggest things that you can do is this, right? Do what you say you're going to do. All right. Especially when it comes to realtors and cash buyers, if you say you're going to do something, make sure that you do it. Okay. Because if you don't, guess what happens? Then that could have been a great realtor for you that was willing to work with you, be your representative or a buyer, whatever it is, that was going to buy a ton of deals from you. And all it takes early on in the relationship that something falls through, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And then next thing you know, they're like, yeah, you know what? I don't even want to, I'm good. I don't want to buy from you. I don't want anything. So it is critical. And I say this to you because I know how it is starting out. It can be overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff to do. Your mind is getting pulled all over the place. You're like, oh man, like should I be doing this right now? Should I be doing that? And you're just all over the place. Okay. And it's easy to let stuff start. And I still struggle with this sometimes today, right? Like it's easy to let stuff slip through the cracks sometimes. And then, it isn't that big of a deal then. Well, you know what? You could have just burned a bridge that would have made you so much money long term over you just not following through on what you said you're going to do. So make sure that you are setting expectations with everyone. I talk about all that in the training as well. But you're setting realistic expectations that you have the ability to meet. That is what's important. All right. It's one thing to set expectations, and it's another thing to set realistic expectations for yourself, knowing everything that you have going on and you're trying to accomplish and understanding what is most important. Okay. Is it more important to make sure that you're dealing with that realtor or, working on business cards or something like that? And in your mind, you're thinking, well, I need them. Well, you don't. I mean, especially you don't need them when you're virtual, right? You don't need business cards. So, I mean, honestly, I haven't been handed a business card in probably the last few years. I don't keep them. I mean, everything is on my phone. Like I'm not even interested in business cards anymore. So that's just my opinion. But when you add all this stuff together, okay, and you can really dial in all these key points that I said, all right, and obviously there's a lot of there's a lot deeper that we could dig on a lot of this stuff. But when you can get these 5 keys streamlined and working together properly, it is magic, guys. All right. It's absolute magic. I mean, this month, it's insane. It's absolutely insane the amount of contracts that we've been getting and like the closings that we've been having. We're absolutely killing it right now. All right. And it's all stems back to us taking this process and transitioning it over into virtual. And you know what? It's also gotten a lot easier, believe it or not. Think about that for a second. Like everyone has been more productive. When you're all in the office together, right? Let's just say you have a team, like I have a team. When everyone's in the office together, it's a lot easier to go walk into so-and-so's office and strike up a conversation. And, before you know it, you got to come back to your desk. And then 5 minutes in, you're like, it takes you some time to get dialed back into what you're doing. And this is like the higher level issues that you'll run into as you are doing this and building a team out. So we've also found for us that the productivity overall with the team has went up being virtual as well. So there's so many pros to this versus the traditional route of wholesaling. Now, do I still love that way of wholesaling? Of course, that's That's what I like grew up. Let's just say it in that way. That's what I grew up doing. And there's always going to be, it's always going to be a little close to my heart based on that. But, when you realize that you can take that, integrate it over here, and it's a better way, it's more efficient, it's better for your lifestyle. You can go out, you can travel, you can do what you want to do. In normal circumstances, obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, but in normal circumstances, you can live the ultimate lifestyle. It truly, truly is the ultimate lifestyle business. And that is where the way that Hunter and I have built this thing out. And we have zero intentions in going back into the office and removing, pulling this back into like a localized business. We're going to stay virtual. And actually with my team on like the coaching side and everything else, I'm bringing in more people on that, and they're all going to be virtual. The only one that will not be virtual is my videographer. So it's key, guys. So really quick, all right, let me answer these questions. And then, guys, ask me any questions that you have, by the way, as well. It could be anything. I'm here to help you. How do you pay your acquisitions people? Strictly commission or hourly? We pay commission. We pay straight up commission. We start out a little bit lower. We start out around that, just under 10%, and then we do like a scale, right? So it's like you get this many contracts or this much revenue, then we'll bump you up to here and so on and so forth. But yeah, no, we do not believe, I don't believe in paying any salespeople hourly. All right. I'm totally against that because I'm really a salesperson as well. All right. And I know that not only would I not want to be paid hourly, I know what that leads to. Okay. Because I've seen it. We've tested it. We've tried hourly. We've tried hourly and commission. We've tried just commission. Commission is always the best. All right. So the real salespeople that are going to be the best of the best for you are the people that want 100% commission. All right. Because they understand that they're going to make more money that way. And they're not going to be capped, and they can go out there and absolutely kill it. If you have a salesperson that comes to you and they're like, no, I'm not going to do it unless, you can also give me some kind of base or something like that. That is not a salesperson that we are interested in. All right. Because that just leads to being complacent, being lazy. No, we're going to pay you. You're going to eat what you kill. Right. So you're going to have to go out there, you're going to have to lock up deals, and that's how you're going to make the money. Do you got a script for locking up a deal and sign contract over the phone So I have a good cold calling script. If you don't have it, you can go to freewholesalingstuff.com, and then I'll give you my contracts, my cold calling script, stuff like that. And it's a good script. It's a good script that works. I mean, we still use it today. Where can I reach you after this live? So if you want to, if you guys don't follow me on Insta yet, you can check me out on Insta, DM me, and then I'll make sure I get that over to you, bro. Quality over quantity, we talked about that. What about salary or draws plus commission? Yeah, so same thing. I don't personally like that. I just like 100% commission. Now when they start, okay, so to hit on the draws, all right, when they first start, we might do like a $700 a week draw, all right, starting them out. And then, after that first month or 2 months, whatever we decide, then, they move over to 100% commission. So we have done that in the past, and that's worked out with some people, but we never do the, just like base plus commission or anything like that. It's always the goal is moving them to 100% commission as fast as possible. Oh yeah. So what other questions we got, guys? And also for any of you that don't have my new virtual training, you can get it there at 10kmonths.com. And I mean, guys, the feedback that I'm getting already from people that are going through it, it's insane. I mean, Jesse just closed the deal from it. We got a couple other people that just locked up some deals. I mean, I just released this thing and I've been low key promoting it. Haven't promoted hard at all. I wanted to really offer it to my personal audience because I love you guys. And, I just appreciate all the support. and all the, the following and you guys liking my stuff, commenting, all that stuff. I love you guys, and I wanted to kind of like low key promote it for a minute before I went out there and allowed everyone to have it. So haven't been trying to push it on you guys at all, but it is there, 10kmonths.com. It's an absolute stupid deal. Okay. An absolute stupid deal for what you get. Where do you look for your team members to hire? Okay. So it would depend on what type of team member you're talking about. Certain positions, we just use the normal job boards like Indeed. We use Indeed a lot. We use Craigslist. It really just depends on what position. But I'll tell you what we have found with acquisitions people is some of the best acquisitions people are actually in car sales. All right. That's just what we found personally. But car sales, they're used to grinding it out. Okay. They work crazy hours. They don't care about working until 7 every night. They don't care about working on the weekends. And they can make just as much or more money faster, all right, in this business than they can actually selling cars. Once they've really understood it and they've learned it and they start going on it, right, and they're building that momentum. So we have found car salespeople are the best acquisitions people for us. All right, so that's where we try to find them. We try to look for people that have a car sales background. We do not hire any salespeople without experience. All right, some like real experience. We're not looking to train someone from brand new because it's just there's a lot of unknowns there, right? Like we've tried it in the past, and then we ended up wasting time, wasting money because they didn't commit. We thought they would, and they didn't. And then here you go, right? So it's like they figured out they didn't like it. So when someone's used to selling cars all day, it's not that big of a deal to, lock up a house, right, over the phone. Any other questions for me, guys? Any other questions at all? You can ask me anything. I am here to help you and make sure you succeed. All right. And also for any of you that are already in the training and in the Facebook group, I'm going live for a live Q&A tomorrow in the Facebook group as well. And I believe that's at 3 Eastern. So I'll be in the Facebook group live. All right. Does anyone have any more questions for me about anything? All right. Cool. All right. I love you guys. I appreciate you jumping on here. If you need anything from me, feel free to reach out. I'm here to help you. My text, I know my texts have been blowing up. I'm going through there and trying to get back to as many of them as I possibly can as fast as possible. So I'm working through that right now. So bear with me. And then also I'll be live in the Facebook group tomorrow. Okay. So how do I get a hold of them? Like go to car lots or just post it on? So yeah, I mean, this is interesting, right? So what we've done in the past is we've scraped LinkedIn. All right, for people that are car sales in those markets that we're looking for. And keep in mind, so let me say this, like you got to understand as well that if you are virtual, right, like salespeople don't have to be local either, right? Like now you've just opened up versus like if you were localized and had an office, you're building out a team with employees and everything like that. Well, now you got to find local people. So you're limited to that market. So that's another beautiful thing about being virtual is you can hire anyone from around the country. Like I'm interviewing a sales guy on Friday that lives in Utah, right? So we're going to see how that works out. But you don't have to limit yourself to the local market. And we've scraped LinkedIn in the past. We also went to like the car sales Facebook groups. Like a lot of the times, car sales people, they'll have like specialized Facebook groups, meetup groups. The same thing is like cash buyers, right? So, my meetup.com strategy where I talk about going in, joining the email list, and now you kind of have a built-in buyers list to start sending out your deals. The same type of thing. There's with car sales, right? So, your positioning is like, hey, you want to work less and make more money, doing sales. And guess what? They all do because they're salespeople. Because at car sales, most of them are working at a minimum 6 days a week. I'm doing 0 to 10K. If I stumble on an issue, I post it in the Facebook group. Yes, sir, Justin. What is up, bro? That's right. You are in there, my man. Yeah, just post it in the Facebook group, bro. I'll be in there helping you. Other people will be in there helping you. And, I always make sure that I respond to everyone that posts in there. So, yeah, dude, you run into anything, hit it up in the Facebook group, and we'll make sure that you get help and that you can overcome whatever issue that you're having. All right? So no worries there. Don't worry about that. What do you use to track acquisitions, people, work activity in a different city or state? Results. That's what I use to track it. So, there's a lot of theories and thoughts out there on this, okay? And what I have found over managing people, because naturally, like, I'm a visionary, all right? Like, you can say a gunslinger, like salesperson. I'm not big into, I don't want to get down into the weeds. I don't want to be building crazy spreadsheets out. Can I do all that stuff? Yes, I can do it. Bear with me one second, guys. So yes, I can do it, but that is not my strength. All right. Like, to do that. So, I'm just looking for the results. That's all I care about. So that's what matters to me. All right. I'm going to look at, hey, how many offers did you make? All right. How many sellers did you talk to? Did you make an offer to everyone that you spoke to? How many, if they're doing some marketing as well for you, like sometimes we have ours do some texting, some cold calling, like how many calls did you make? All right. How many texts did you send them? How many freaking contracts did you get? All right. Because that's what I really care about. How many contracts did you get, and are they deals? That's what matters. So, it's easy for us to overcomplicate things. All right. Naturally, we do that as people. We try to overcomplicate it. All right. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to oversimplify it either. But what I'm saying is it's a simple business, but it's not necessarily easy. So what I care about is the result. Did you get the result that I was looking for or not? If you didn't, then there's an issue and we need to talk about it. All right. And then I'll back into all these other things and I'll figure out why that result wasn't met. All right. So if you didn't do these other things, then you're not going to get the result. So I look at the result first. So if you didn't get that result, now I'm really looking at this. Now, to be fair, we track everything. All right. So I can look at this data anytime that I want. All right. And we have our weekly meetings. We have our operations meeting every week, all this stuff. But what I really, really care about, all right, as far as acquisitions people, is the result. Like, how many deals did you get? And if you didn't meet that, then I'm going to start really grinding in on you. All right. And digging deeper into everything else. And I'm going to figure out quickly why you're not getting that result. And we're going to have a conversation. Do you use the dialer to track the calls like you would do a VA to track KPIs? So we're not heavy cold callers. All right. So we're not heavy cold callers. We still do some cold calling, but the majority of our deals are coming from texting, coming from Facebook, coming from direct mail, coming from PPC and Google. Cold calling, like, we were really heavy, about a year ago, and we're still doing it, but not as much. And so most of our acquisitions people aren't sitting there pounding the phones all day, right? Like, we're either, generating leads through text, or we're getting a lot of inbound leads coming in as well. So that's really where our acquisitions people come in. And if for whatever reason they're not busy, if we're a slower day, then they're marketing themselves. They're doing some calls and everything else. But no, we track everything through whatever that channel is. And so to answer your question, when they are calling, yes, then it would be tracked through the dialer, and then we'd integrate it over to CRM. And then we have someone go behind them and also double check that as well. Does that make sense? I know that was a long explanation, but I really wanted to make sure that I explained it to you as detailed as I possibly can. All right, cool. Awesome. You guys have any more questions for me at all? Anything I can help you with? I am here to help. All right, cool. All right, guys, I love you. If you haven't yet, please go check out 10kmonths.com and check out my new training. It is awesome. And, you know, look, if you're in the Facebook group like Justin, then I will see you tomorrow afternoon. All right, around 3. You don't want to miss that. I'm sure we'll be getting some really, really cool questions in there. I'm excited about that. I love doing this. And, you know, what I'll do is I'll probably do another YouTube live either Friday or Monday. All right, so look out for that, and it'll be a whole new discussion that we're going to be talking about. All right, and I'm going to dig even deeper into our virtual process. Maybe this time we'll actually get into where we're finding the buyers, how we're doing it, how we're getting the deals locked up with them, and all that stuff, okay? So I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.